This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you by the Daily Herald.
All right. We're here at Benet Academy with girls track and field coach Scott Brooks. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. It's good to be here.
Now, it's another wonderful spring day here at Benet.
Spring in line. 80 yesterday, 50 today.
Yeah. How has that affected getting the girls out for the track meets?
You know, I mean, especially meets, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the weather is the weather. It's spring in Chicago, and this is what the deal is. You know, one day you got great weather, another day you have terrible weather. And it's just something you learn to deal with. I mean, last year we had our first indoor track meet, and my distance runners literally had not even run a step yet because we had that really cold snap. So we were literally, 2 weeks into the season not having run a step.
Yeah.
So this year, by comparison, was actually pretty nice. It's just the fluctuation, the 80 to 50 and back again. It's just, it's frustrating, but what are you going to do?
Right.
The weather's something you can't control. I always tell the kids, the stuff you can't control, let it go.
And you've had a chance to get out now a couple weeks in a row here with Gus Scott and Nequa last week. So what have you liked about your team so far?
I think we have a lot of kids who are willing to do whatever we need them to do. Especially our sprinters have been really agile in terms of bouncing around to things that may not be their best event, but covering, we have not run a meet yet where we've had our full complement of athletes there.
Sure.
And so we're kind of having to piece together on any given week a roster that can go out and compete, and kids have been very flexible about accommodating what we need them to do on any given week.
And talking before we started this, you mentioned that the team in general is just a smaller team. Can you just talk about that again, being what it is that, different sports, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, there's just, there's a lot more things going on now. There's a lot more activities. I mean, there's probably 300% more clubs here at Benet than there were before. We've got 2 spring sports, lacrosse and soccer, that didn't exist when I started coaching girls track. And then there's the same number of kids roughly, and so you're just dividing that pie up into a lot smaller pieces. And there are certain kids that decided that they're not going to be on track because they don't want to make that commitment to, and that's, I think, the mature decision to make rather than just hang on. Sure. And miss and have that be a frustration. So I think we have some kids that were on track last year that didn't do track this year because they wanted to experience all the things that senior year brings, and you can't do that when you're committed to a sport.
Right.
So
yeah, especially one that's track and field where it's a lot of discipline.
And it's a lot of time too.
Yeah,
a Saturday track meet's 6 hours of your day. It's not like an hour and a half basketball game or something like that. So
now you've been here 25 years, 22 on the girls' side. So what have you seen as far as maybe some of the athletes, some of the way things have come along here at the school as far as the girls' side of things?
One of the things I think, and I think every coach would tell you this, that number one, I think you get a lot more specialization today than you used to. It used to be pretty common where you'd get 3 sport athletes. Some of the best athletes I ever coached were 3 sport athletes. You see a lot less of that now. You see a lot of kids starting to specialize when they're, in 4th grade on a particular sport. And that makes track a hard one because there's no AAU track. There's AAU, so you got club soccer, you got AAU basketball and softball and all that stuff, and it becomes hard for track because there isn't really that thing at that lower level where kids start heading that direction. So it's hard to get some of the athletes that you might have gotten 20 years ago involved in track. And the other thing too, I think, is there's a lot more things that kids are into now. Like, they aren't going to say, okay, well, I'm going to do these 2 or 3 things really well. I want to do 50 things. And you end up with, kids saying, oh, well, I can't do this because of this, and I can't do that because of that. And it's hard, but you got to, you try to make it work as best you can. I mean, nothing you can do about it. Now,
Benet is also moving from 3A to 2A this year. So how does that help, I guess, for your athletes, or does it hurt?
I guess you gotta look at what you're trying to do. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to do as well as we can in conference, and we're trying to get as many kids downstate as possible. And I think in that regard, 2A helps us a ton.
Yeah.
The qualifying standards are a little bit easier. The depth of competition, although the sectional we're in is probably as good a sectional as you're going to get in 2A, but it's not the same level of competition that 3A is in terms of just, you've got maybe 2 or 3 girls in an event as opposed to 10 or 12.
Right.
And so when you're in that situation, I think it's a little bit easier, and it kind of fired our kids up to know, hey, we got a chance to go out and maybe win a sectional. We got to go a chance that kids that might have been really kind of on the bubble as whether they may or may not qualify for state now have a very legitimate chance to qualify. And I think some of our kids really took that and use that to really fire them up in the off season in terms of doing the work they need to do to get ready for this season.
Absolutely. And you mentioned conference. You got conference coming up next week. Benet has been the top dog in the ESCC as far as girls track and field for quite some time now. So does that help, again, fire up your girls to know that, hey, we want to stay on top, or is this something you just kind of say?
I mean, I certainly don't want to speak for them, but I can't imagine that it doesn't. I mean, nobody wants to be the group that breaks the string. I was a part of a group like that when I was in high school, where we had gotten, I ran at York, and we got a trophy in cross country 25 years in a row or something like that. Mm-hmm. And my junior year, we got 4th. And it was just devastating.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be that group that sort of drops the ball. And I mean, not in that sense, but you want to be, say, 4 years I ran at Benet and we never lost conference.
Right.
And I know these kids want to do that. I think every team wants to do that. So we have to go out and do the same work that our past teams have had and compete as hard as we can and see what happens.
Now, you mentioned your background in cross country.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been working a lot with the distance runners here in track, but obviously there's more than just distance runners in track. So how have you been able to work with everybody in a sense?
I mean, on certain days I have more opportunity to be involved with the girls and others at practice. But at meets, the head coach's job is to kind of make sure everything's going well. Mm-hmm. And so you try to bounce around to the field events. You try to go and do what you need to do as far as helping kids out in whatever capacity you can. I mean, I'm pretty fortunate that having been around this sport as long as I have, I've had to coach most of the events at one point or another.
Sure.
So I have something productive to tell a kid other than, good job or work hard. And then I can help them, when a coach is dealing with something else, or, sometimes, we have like a split coaching staff where sometimes the coaches are with the boys and sometimes are with the girls. And so sometimes you get an opportunity to, help them out in ways just because they don't have anybody there with them. But it's hard being the head coach because you want to be able to deal with all the kids, but realistically you just can't all the time. So you got to pick and choose your moments.
Now, talking to Allie, she said that you weren't there for one of the meets before the Gus Scott invite, and she really wanted to have you there for when she set another PR. So
I mean, yeah, we kind of joke about that, like I'm bad luck. Like whenever I'm there watching her do her thing, she doesn't set records. So at Gus Scott, I'm sure, fighting some other fire, doing something else.
Right.
And so I didn't actually see her vault.
Okay.
Like 2 days before that, we were up at Carmel, mm-hmm. and she was trying to do a season best there and didn't make it. And I was standing right there filming it. So, it's kind of a joke among us. But, I mean, certainly you love to be able to be around a kid like Allie. I mean, Allie is not just an exceptional athlete. She's an exceptional person. She really, really cares about what she's doing.
Yeah.
And as a coach, you just want to be there and support them and do the best you can, no matter what. But sometimes when you're the head coach, you got to be somewhere else at a particular time. So.
And you get her for another year. She's only a junior. So what is the structure of this team? You have a lot of juniors. I saw, scouting reports saying you got 3 juniors to look out for, and obviously Lucy as well, being a senior. But what is the structure of this team? I
mean, I would say it's a very junior-heavy team.
Yeah.
Our junior class is a really, really good, deep class. Mm-hmm. We've got juniors all over the place. Allie is tremendous. Emma Jones is going to be a noisemaker when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
She is doing some tremendous, tremendous things. Our distance group, we've got Claire McCabe, who's a senior, but a lot of our other top distance runners are juniors. So it's just a very strong junior class, but we've got freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, all of them finding a way to contribute.
I guess in a sense, you've been here long enough, you've seen enough coaches coming through and help you out as well. So how has the seniors, I guess, been able to just kind of coach themselves and help the other girls as well? I
mean, there's no teacher like experience.
Sure.
And seniors have been through more, whether it be dealing with weather or injuries or technique or just, struggling in an event sometimes and just the frustration. that the girls are really good about helping each other out, really good about giving advice, really good about supporting each other. And I think that helps. You need that kind of leadership to be a very good team. And we've got, like we just talked about, really good upperclassmen on this team. And I think that they're a very mature group too. That group of juniors especially, you'd think they were seniors if you didn't know them.
Right.
And that, I think, helps a lot.
Now, we're getting down to the end of the season already. Crazy to think, only a few meets that you've already had. But what, I guess, are the goals for the rest of the season for this team?
I mean, like I said, you always want to win conference. It's something that we always strive to do. We've got a really good conference, and it gets tougher and tougher, it seems like, every year. But that's always a big goal for us. And then go down to state with as many kids as we can get down there and do as much as we can down there. I mean, we've got some kids who have legitimate chances, not just to make it to state, but potentially be all state athletes. And as a coach, you want your kids to be able to achieve the highest level of success they're capable of. And so that's, those are our goals, and our job is to help them and get them to work hard every day to get to that point.
Well, we hope that you achieve those goals and we see some All-Staters here in the next month or so.
Thank you, Mike.
And again, thank you for joining me today, and good luck the rest of the season.
I really appreciate it.